waiting for Skyhooks to arrive at Festival Hall. We're in their dressing room at the moment. With me is Skyhooks manager, Michael Godinsky, and Michael, must be a pretty hard job keeping the guys together.
Well, it keeps you at a pretty hefty pace, I tell you what.
Did you go overseas with them in the last tour?
Oh yeah, I went over quite a few times before they went over, and then during the tour I stayed with them for about 3/4 of the tour, came back to Australia a couple of times to organise things, but it's been a busy life for me.
What would be the hardest part of being a manager of a group like Skyhooks?
Well, you've got the pressure of the media all the time. You've got to keep, you've got so many press people wanting interviews, photographs. You've got to try and keep as many people happy as possible, and you've got all the fans and letters and fan clubs, and just trying to keep all the concerts of good value and the records coming out.
Do you consider managing Skyhooks an easier job than most other bands?
Oh no. Skyhooks are a very a difficult band to manage in a lot of ways, and yet easy in other ways. They've got very strong ideals in which way they want. Like, a lot of their direction is worked out by themselves. I put a lot of it into practice, and most of the business side's me. But their attitudes towards stage presentation, their attitudes towards the whole thing, are very firm, and consequently, you just can't go mad organising certain things, and then you really got to think. We think very carefully about whole image and presentation.
They get psyched up before they do a concert. Do you find a noticeable change in the way they react to people, etc.?
Nowadays, if they've been playing and they've done so many concerts, it's becoming, there's not a noticeable change, but it's just any performer gets psyched up in his own way before a show, and they come to a concert quite a bit before they perform, because basically with the makeup and the tuning and everything else, they're always at a concert an hour and a quarter before they go on to get everything perfect.
How many concerts have you done in the last year, Michael?
Ooh, I really wouldn't be able to tell you offhand. They don't work as solidly as some groups. For example, they won't work 30 concerts in 40 days and go on the road solid. They take breaks. It's important for Greg McCanch to keep writing material to have breaks. And the overseas thing was the most solid part of work they had. They had about 3 months of which they were working 4 or 5 nights a week straight and on the road, bussing every night, overnighters, and that's been the hardest stretch of work they've had so far.
Do you find they get into trouble with each other sometimes, find it hard to get along with each other?
Oh, well, the 5 individuals and the 5 egos you've got in Skyhooks, they're always having a bit of a thing on, but they're a really tight and together band. It's just natural, I think.
With me is Red, and Red, we're going to talk about a little bit about the gear, etc. And being a guitarist, I guess a sound check is very important.
Yeah, we find one can never tell what the hall is going to sound like, even if you've been to a hall before. You always have to set up so that you can eliminate as much echo as possible, and just sort of balance everything on stage, and also to make sure everything works.
I guess it must become quite an art to be able to balance in different halls, because each hall has its different characteristics. How do you find Festival Hall in Brisbane?
It's better than Festival Hall in Melbourne, but it's not one of the greatest halls. You find, actually, this is really a boxing rink, isn't it? I mean, like, the best halls don't have any flat walls. They're sort of scalloped. But this one has very flat walls, so it means that when we stand here and play, if we listen too hard, which you must never do, it'll come back at you, like.
Is this TV?
Yeah,
is this for TV?
Well, what we're doing actually
You didn't give me a yell.
It's educational.
You're coming up later now.
Educational?
Have a lie down.
Oh.
We'll get back to you later, Shel. Back to serious things. Have you ever gone so far as to put baffles in a hall? I know you're talking about square walls, etc., and sometimes it helps to put bits of cardboard and stuff around the place. Have you ever gone as far as that?
Egg cartons.
No, not quite.
Kids, bring your egg cartons to the concert tonight.
Have you ever gone as far as that?
No, I mean, you have to live with it, really. Whatever it is. We played in lots worse places than this. In the States, we're playing in ice rinks some of the time, and they're incredible. I mean, like, they leave the ice in there, and they just put a whole lot of sort of squares of wood over the whole thing. It's freezing cold and incredibly echoey. I mean, ice is such a hard, reflective surface,
Wouldn't help, would it? A lot of the time, people have asked me what these boxes are in the front here. Well, probably people in the audience probably think they're mirrors, so you can look at yourself or something like that.
Well, they are in a way. Yes, they are.
You might like to explain that to them.
Well, that's just the foldback, or monitors, as they call them in America. But we just get the sound back through those. What we normally do is we have, in these boxes on the floor here, we have just the voices coming back. From these boxes on the sides.
I see, The one's facing towards us,
We have drums and a bit of band, just to sort of spread it around, and also for the people in the front, because having the PA so wide in a hall, you tend to find that people, you notice the Rolling Stones always have speakers in the middle, and we also, using those, you get a bit of fill in the middle, so that people who are right down the front can actually hear the vocals, because otherwise they wouldn't, you know.
That's right.
But there's sort of 3 splits. There's the sides, the floor, and there's one behind Freddie there, another box, so he can hear himself singing.
Yeah, is it always necessary to hear yourselves on stage? What is the reason that you have it coming back?
You never can. But
you get it coming a second later, coming back at you a second later, because of the echo.
Yeah, well, that's where you have to... there are 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is that you listen to... I have seen some bands who sort of put their PA almost behind them so they can hear it coming off there.
Right.
The other idea is that you surround yourself with as many of these boxes coming so loud at you that you can't hear anything out there. They just swamp everything. And that's, I'm afraid, that's the theory we use.
Guitar mechanism itself, I can't see your amplifier. What's the reason of having it behind the curtains, just for effect, or?
Well, I always feel like, I mean, everybody knows you've got an amplifier.
Yeah.
And it's a bit boring, you know. I just like to have it as blank as possible. I like the idea of like you do in a TV studio, that you don't have to show people the mechanism of it, because they understand the mechanism of it, you know.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't really explain, because people can see those boxes doesn't mean they understand them any better, and I sort of feel it's nice just to eliminate that.
Now, what you actually do, of course, is mic those boxes, and the whole total sound comes out through your PA,
right,
and a little bit comes out the side so you can hear what's going on as well.
Yeah, well, everything on the stage is mic'd except the bass. The bass one always tends to put straight into the desk.
Which is the mixing panel out in the audience, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Shell, what we're doing actually is showing
Pretending,
the people
aren't we?
a little bit
Pretending.
behind the scenes. And do you always perform in bare feet, or show me your feet? Actually,
when
he's
in
got lovely
Brisbane,
feet.
do as Brisbane does.
Do as the natives do. Well, we don't wear coats like that.
No, I know, but I haven't got a wardrobe big enough to put it in.
Oh, I see.
You know, my suitcase
So you
is
just
chock-a-block.
sling it on your shoulders and carry it round.
Yeah, well, see, we do have winter in Melbourne, you know.
Shell, let's be serious for a second.
Impossible with me, Rick. Impossible.
Just a second. What do you find is possibly the hardest thing for you when you're performing live at a big hall like this?
Oh, I don't know.
Sound-wise, etc.
Oh, sound, everything's cool on the sound side. It's, I don't know, sometimes when it gets out of hand, you know, sort of sometimes the noise out the front exceeds the noise on stage, you know.
Yeah.
Then you can't tell them anything.
Does that sort of put you off? Because do you have a system where you can build up your fallback if there's too much noise out there?
Well, they've got a certain limit too, you know. You can only go so far as getting sound off stage, you know. So they feed back if you get too loud too. So you're in a position where if you're competing with an audience and they can't hear what you're saying, you're sort of like that, you know, just above the screens.
Yeah, I noticed that even the greats are infallible. You've got a list of songs there so you don't forget.
Well, you know, that's what it's like, mate. Mind boggles. When it boggles, it mucks up.
Have you ever lost your list and
sure.
been lost in the middle of a performance?
Put a song somewhere between the other, you'll say, oh, this is so-and-so, and it'll come up and go, no, it's not. It's something else.
How do you get away with that? I mean, it must be
You
embarrassing
just
when
stand
you
there and say, I made a mistake.
Everyone loves you for it, I guess.
No, they just think I'm silly.
Interesting about the drums here too, Shirley. I noticed that you've possibly got... How many microphones are you using on the drums?
Well, there's 2 overheads for both the cymbals, hi-hat, snare drum, bass drum, toms, floor tom. I don't know, about 6.
And you've got a guy out in the audience who sits there and listens to every particular drum. And
well, that's his job. His job's to mix the sound, you know, so that's what he does.
Does every microphone have a different connection to it, a different volume control, etc.?
No, you've got a mixing console at the front, which sort of you can vary the tonal qualities, the impedance, whatever, you know, so you can get it all together and stuff, which he gets out there. You've got different microphones which do different things. You can get a microphone that'll just sort of get the out of something instead of the boom.
Yeah.
So no, it's all a matter of working with what's happening.
Do you often do sound checks before you play? Do a sound check every time you play?
Yeah.
I hope he lasts long enough, folks, to tell us.
Bloody hot, isn't it?
It is.
No, you're in a position where, depending how much time you've got between gigs to get to a gig to set up, but you know, every time you try to get a sound check each gig so that you get everything right and everything's working properly.
Do you feel it's absolutely necessary?
Well, it is. You know, like you never know. Like you could sort of come on stage and not have a sound check and walk in, plug your guitar, and your amplifier's not working. You know.
Yeah.
And that is trouble.